Morning, friends. The different kind of people who come to a prison group is different, perhaps, from what we see in our average Quaker meeting. And perhaps it's the case for all churchgoers. If you're organized enough to get yourself to church at the right time on the right day, maybe it's different. And of course, it's in the prison context where we as chaplains go around and remind people, invite them. I leave a little slip of paper sometimes so that people remember that it's today. And I'm always struck by the need of people in prison chaplain in the chapel. The desperation, they need to come to the chapel. They need to come to the silence and the quiet. And sometimes there's a feeling that people are clinging on in desperation, maybe. They're clinging on. And I remember walking past a wall, a brick wall at the side of one of the wings as you come to the chapel. And if you look very carefully on a brick wall, in the mortar where there's little cracks, tiny, tiny little plants grow. And I remember a long, long time ago, I was having a conversation with one man who was particularly suffering and troubled and desperate. And as we were leaving, we stopped to talk some more. And in this wall, there was the tiniest fern growing alongside some moss. And and we both just stopped and looked at it. How it was so perfect, so green, and yet so tiny, clinging on to life, and it had found its niche. And I think that's what's so amazing about working in a prison context where we can be alongside people who are clinging on in that way, in a desperate sense. And perhaps we forget this if we're in very comfortable lives. And this is why I suppose all religions, but particular the one I'm familiar with, the Christian approach to life works at the margins. It works best where people are suffering. It works best where there is danger and strife and pain. And it's a really precious message when it lands in those places. So in some ways, it's a reminder to get out of our comfort zones and to move to the margins, move to the edges, be where there is desperation. Because if you're struggling in your faith at all, you'll find it in the margins. Go to where suffering is and you will find your faith there.